Mm,
Yeah, sorry, madam.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay, shall we
let's
start,
start.
madam?
Yes, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all the participants to our 5-day faculty development program on AI-powered teaching excellence. We are delighted to have you all with us today. I extend a warm welcome to our respected in-charge principal, Dr. S.R. Genji, sir, our head of department, TNTC department, and FDP coordinator, Dr. Ms. Asha Dharange, madam, and our FDP co-coordinator, Dr. Vipul Kondekar, sir. To formally commence today's session, I now request our respected head of the ENTC department and FDP coordinator, Dr. Ms. Asha Dharange Madam, to deliver the welcome address and share a few words with all the participants. Over to you, Madam.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm and a cordial welcome to respected Principal Dr. S.R. Genge, heads of all the departments, my colleagues, all the distinguished resource persons, academicians, faculty members, researchers, and participants to the 1 week national level faculty development program on AI powered teaching excellence organized by Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, Walchand Institute of Technology, Solapur, in collaboration with iTech Robotics and Automation Private Limited, Pune, and Techinova Solutions Private Limited, Pune. Artificial intelligence, it is revolutionizing every sphere of life, and education is no exception. Educators, it is essential for us to understand and effectively utilize the AI powered tools and technologies to enhance teaching methodologies, improve the student engagement, and create more personalized and impactful learning experience. This FDP has been carefully designed to provide insights into emerging AI technologies and their practical applications in higher education. So during this week long program, eminent experts from the academia and industry, they will be sharing their knowledge, experience, and the best practices through the expert talks, demonstrations, and the interactive sessions. So I encourage all the participants to actively engage in the discussions and make the best use of this opportunity for the professional growth and academic excellence. So I express my sincere gratitude to our management, principal, industry collaborators, resource persons, organizing committee members, faculty, staff, and all the participants for their valuable support and enthusiastic participation. I'm confident that this FDP will be rewarding learning experience for everyone and will contribute significantly towards fostering innovation and excellence in teaching. Once again, I welcome you all and wish you a fruitful and enriching and a successful FDP.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your warm and inspiring welcome address. Your encouraging words have set a wonderful tone for the faculty development program. Now I invite our FDP co-coordinator, Dr. Vipul Kondekar sir, to give a brief introduction to the 5-day FDP on AI-powered teaching excellence and share its objectives and the learning outcomes we aim to achieve through this program. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Venkatesh sir. Okay. Respected principal of the institute, Walchand Institute of Technology, Solapur, chief guest for the today's inaugural function, and resource person for the today's first inaugural session, Dr. PSR Patnaik sir. Distinguished guests, dignitaries, faculty members who are joining these, researchers, participants, and dear colleague members. A warm welcome to all of you for this industry collaborated national level 1 week faculty development program based on AI powered teaching excellence. So it gives me immense pleasure to share that there is huge response for this FDP, and we are getting the participants from all over nation, from all states. We are getting the participants for this FDP. The primary objective of this particular FDP is to have the empowerment for the teachers. As an educator, we are witnessing the significant transformation in the way the knowledge is created, shared, and consumed. Artificial intelligence is no longer a futuristic concept now. It has become integral part of our education system. So therefore, it is essential for the teachers, faculty members, not only to understand AI, but also to learn and leverage its responsible and effective use to enhance the quality of the teaching, student engagement, assessment practices, content creations, and academic productivity. The rationale behind organizing this faculty development program is to bridge the gap between the emerging AI technologies and the classroom teaching practices. Through this program, the participants will gain the hands-on exposure to various AI tools and platforms that can simplify the routine academic tasks and support pedagogies and help create more engaging and personalized learning experiences for the students. So we are privileged to have a panel of eminent resource persons for this FDP from the industry as well academia. They have very rich experience of artificial intelligence, generative AI, educational technologies, as well as various innovations. So their expertise and practical knowledge, practical insights will definitely help all the participants to understand not only the capabilities of AI, but also the meaningful and useful applications of AI in education. At Walchand Institute of Technology, Solapur, we firmly believe that quality of the education can be enhanced through the continuous learning, innovation, and industry academia collaboration. So this FTP is one such initiative aimed at enriching the educational ecosystem by equipping the educators with future ready skills and empowering them to become catalysts for positive change in the society in the form of artificial intelligence. I, as a coordinator team, is confident that the coming days will be providing you a valuable learning opportunities, meaningful interactions with the industry and academia people, and practical hands-on experiences. And participants can immediately implement these things in their teaching and professional activities also. So once again, I extend my heartfelt welcome to all the participants and esteemed resource person for the today's session. I wish everyone a fruitful, engaging, and enriching faculty development program experience. Thank you and best wishes for all the participants for successful learning and conduct of this FDP program. Thank you, coordinators, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for providing us with a clear overview of the faculty development program and its objectives. We are now ready to begin today's first session. It is my privilege to introduce our esteemed resource person for today's session, Dr. PSR Patnaik, sir. Dr. Patnaik, sir, has over 10 years of teaching experience, has earned a PhD, and is currently serving as a senior software technical consultant at PTC Pune with around 4 years of industrial experience. Today, Dr. Patnaik sir will deliver an insightful session on fundamentals of AI, tools and techniques. We are delighted to have you with us, sir. Over to you, sir.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
So can I take the
Yes.
screen share for a minute? Yeah. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to be frank, uh, I think I was discussing about this session, uh, what to talk and what not to talk, and I decided that best way is to just go in a extempore way. So I think as far as I have gone through the brochure of this workshop and also the vision and all that, what I feel is that there are excellent resource persons after me who gonna have a much more detailed walkthrough through the tools, what we can do with those tools and how we can benefit from those tools. I would like to go a slightly different off way. I don't have any slides, neither content, tool, or anything, but I just want to keep the session very interactive and see how I can be helpful in sharing my experience. I'm not saying that my experience is the right, I'm more knowledgeable, or I'm less knowledgeable, or I'm expert in so and so, but I just want to share my experience and whatever I have learned as my during my experience in a teaching learning environment and my experience as a student in a phase when there was restricted internet, then we had access to internet, and there was also a phase when we had a complete access to AI tools. So I feel like we are like I have some small bits and pieces of experience across using of this I would say IT, information technology, or like AI enabled information technology in an entire education, learning, and its implementation landscape. So what I would prefer to do in this first session in an hour or so is to just drive this session based on your inputs and to see and understand how we as a teacher, or some of us might be even be in an active student phase, like some of us might be even be pursuing some PhD or some master's degree where we are okay, a half student, half teacher. So I would like to listen from you, like what are your expectations from this session? I think you have joined this session with some specific set of expectations, and what would you ideally would like to hear from me? So I think what I can say is that I have spent fairly about 10 plus or around 10 plus years of experience into education, where I engage classes, assessment, all that regular day-to-day activities that every teacher does. And I also have a good amount of industry experience. Like I used to be an independent consultant earlier, while even in educational settings. And I am also full time currently for organization, and I'm also leading the AI division of my current organization. So, given my profile, what would you like to hear from me? Why I am asking this question is, in this world of AI and current world, there is literally nothing which ChatGPT can answer as of now. Even if ChatGPT does and you do a good quick couple of Google searches, whatever you wish, it is at your disposal, almost spending zero of money. So, what you all are expecting something different or something very unique to my experience, which you would like to hear from me. I think we can keep this session interactive. So I would like to, I'm not sure if participants has access to unmute and ask question, or like, I think if you're comfortable, you can even put some messages in chat box so I can go through and we can steer the session based on your inputs. Uh, uh, okay, and I think you can type your message in chat box.
இப்போ எப்படி ஆர்குமெண்ட்னா, நான் பேசுறது அந்த பொண்ணு லாஸ்ட் அந்த பேனல்லையே அதுதான் லாஸ்ட். நான் பேசுறப்போ அவர் கேக் சாப்பிட்டு இருந்தாரு. அவர் என்னது கவனிக்கவே இல்லை. கரெக்டா என் பப்ளிகேஷன் ஸ்லைடு வரும்போது அவர் டீ குடிக்கிறதுக்கு திரும்பிட்டாரு. நான் தேங்க்யூ சொல்லிட்டேன்.
I'm not sure if someone is asking a question.
நான் நினைச்சேன். இப்போ ஒருத்தர் நீங்க வந்து எல்லா ஸ்டூடெண்ட் வந்தா நீங்களும் சீஃப் மினிஸ்டர் கிடையாது. அவர் பாக்குற வரைக்கும் நீ அந்த ஸ்லைட்ல.
Yeah, maybe I think we'll keep
Sorry, sir,
our interaction to
I have muted everyone.
Sir, on behalf of participants, I would like to share one message which is there, and that was in my mind also. So here is one chat where Achyut Prasad Ian says, "Sir, how to handle Gen Z students with the modern AI tools for teaching and learning?" So in this regard, I request you to create a context among all the participants, because most of the participants are the faculty members. And the concern is when they are using AI, students are using AI very smartly. Faculties are, we are making an attempt to make them aware about various AI tools. But can you create a context where give the idea about how exactly AI works? Because that background should be there in the mind when you're using any tools. So basically some foundational things about the AI, how it works, and then how to handle the students and how to make it effectively used by the teachers to handle these JNG students. So that may be one point to start.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for very interesting question. I think this question has been directly straight to the point. I think one change which I would like to put is in this, okay, how to handle students. I will not say whether Gen Z or then a student is a student. Just it's a distinction is that these are modern students. These are the students who are exposed to several AI tools on their own. And as a teacher, it's I think it's not something new only now, but I think even in my days, I think some couple of years ago, students they have a far more exposure to information than we had during our student days. So one of the issue in handling students who has access to several of information source is not to teach them because they already know some information. What we need to tell them or what we need to teach them is from all the information they know, what information is valuable, what information they can keep in their minds, and what information they can build on top of that. I feel like in this modern AI tools and AI teaching learning domain, we as a teacher, our role drastically changes. So I think I would like to go from here from the teacher's perspective. So from teacher's perspective, if I want to use any specific AI tools, right? So if I want to use AI tools, as a teacher, what AI tools should I use? Or how should I use AI tools? So I would say what tools? Then the question comes, how to use them? Right. But before we answer any of these questions, like what tools, how to use them, fundamentally, we'll have to always answer why to use AI tools. So before we talk about this concept of why do we use AI tools, I have some perspective on why as a teacher we should be as relying on AI tools. And probably this session is based on helping teachers use how to use. This session is morely focusing on that. But let us get to the bottom of the question or the root of this problem. As a teacher, why do you feel that you should use AI tools? Any perspective from participants? So I think let's keep this interactive. I think, see, I always believe in learning more through discussions. As I'm saying that I'm not an expert or I'm not a more knowledgeable than any of us here. We all are sharing experiences and we learn from our experiences. So as a teacher, currently when you're using that, why do you feel that you need to use AI tools? What is that gap you saw in yourself while engaging lectures or while engaging teaching learning sessions that you felt that, okay, now it's time for me to use AI tools? What was that moment where you realized that, okay, I as a teacher should use AI tools? Can we go through some quick responses?
Sir, which can create interest on the topics in a quick interest, because though the students are expecting a instant knowing with respect to the concept, it's not like that time consuming. They wanted to get grasp everything with in a lesser time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as a teacher, how do we quickly instill quick interest in the student? At the same time, how can I do that activity of motivating student or increasing this interest in a student in a less time? Yeah, I think pretty good point. And any other things like why to use AI tools? Definitely, yes. When I want to bring in a quick interest, yes. Lot of activities, lot of tasks. AI helps us save time because it does a lot for us. Any other responses? Maybe let's see if I see anything in. Yeah, and then if I'm looking at chat session,
We
we are
can
saying,
know some advanced things, what is happening in the world. Given such information, we can use AI to.
okay, advanced information. Maybe I'll put it in this way, like simplify advanced info. And if I see some responses in chat, I think I can just summarize that. Okay, using AI tools for research, outcome based, can I engage students? Yeah, creating tools to help multiple assessment, game based interest. Yeah. So quick interest, less time, simplify advanced implementation information. And okay, so now if I want to share my experience, and if I think the way I interact with other colleges and other students and other academicians, what I can tell is we teachers, we have some, okay, so if I look at current teachers' workload, let us be very practical and realistic. So currently, if you look at teachers' workload, what's the time I spent? So currently, if you look at the current way the most of our teachers we are engaged in, we get less and less time. So we have a less time to spend with students. So when I say less time to spend with students, I mean like as a teacher, we very frankly, we get a very less time in making sure we are an active facilitator in their teaching learning process. And most of our time, so more time of our teachers is being spent in other non-teaching learning workloads. So if I say at time we have a A and if I have a B, what would you ideally like to use AI tools for? Would you like to use AI tools for the less time you're spending on students so that you can make more productive uses of that time? Or save time here? Or become more productive to do more non-teaching learning stuff. So a quick response which I would like to understand from most of the participants, like what is your goal to use AI tools? Now, based on your answers, what tool you will be using, what productivity gains you can make, how quickly you can make those productivities, it depends. That's what is I wanted to go ahead with this session. What is your end goal and intention? Where do you want your AI to be used? Because we are primarily looking at AI as a time-saving, productivity improving. Let us first fix to on that aspect of AI, where AI is used for productivity improving and time saving. So when I say productivity, I'm more converting that into time. By using AI, if I can save my more time, I am getting something. Now, when you want to use AI tools, as a teacher, you have two primary workloads. Workload one is your teaching learning, and workload two is a non-teaching workloading. And to be very frank, most of us are HODs, most of you are doing some very administrative works, most of you are in some official duties and all that. So I, as a teacher, I can also understand that significant amount of modern teaching learning environment, modern teacher duties are spent in non-teaching learning, and we get a very less time for to spend it in a teaching learning environment. What is your goal? Where you want to use your AI? A or a B? You will quickly put your response in a chat so that I can understand like what exactly we are looking for. So you can just type a response, A or a B in a chat, and I would get an indication. So as of now, I see someone say A, B, okay, B, F, B. So looking at the chat, I think most of the questions is on B. Some, okay, asking for mixed, but I see like most of these responses is to figure out AI tools so that you can save more time in B. Okay. So I think I see that most of you want for B. Let us discuss further. So when you say non-teaching workload, how many of you consider uh, preparation for your course plus assessments plus evaluation plus say mentoring of students plus documentation around this? Do you consider this as non-teaching workload? How do you consider this? Do you consider this as a non-teaching workload or a teaching workload? And we have something like, okay, let's say NBA, we have this NAC, this NRF, plus others like this. And then we have a so when you say non-teaching workloads, okay, so you have A, B, C further. My question here is how much you consider this as a non-teaching workload? As a teacher, what is your perspective on that? Like you doing a course plan, you doing assessment, you doing assignment, you doing question paper. So what do you consider them? You consider them as a non-teaching? Okay, if I look at your responses, what I was saying that they're basically teaching, and yes, you are saying they're teaching work. Okay. Now, if you consider these as a non-teaching or a teaching, generally I prefer them to call them as a non-teaching work, because the way as a teacher, look at as a teacher as you as a human. As a human, the active time you spent interacting with a teacher student, or active time you spend with a student helping him or aiding him in a teaching learning process is what I call it as a teaching. But I think most of you are aligning that these activities are a part of teaching learning process. Fair enough. So let me put this as teaching learning. Okay. So now going on these further activities, you want to make sure you want to use more and more tools to make sure your documentation work and your administrative and management activities can be used. What I say is, for this kind of workloads wherein your documentation, where you have to draft some sentences, you have to draft on all this, I feel that these can be very well handled through the existing tools which you have. For example, ChatGPT can fairly well handle all these activities. And if you want a bit more advanced concepts in this, you probably need to have some agentic workflow. And there are several tools for building an agentic workflow. I think one of the famous is you can use your Copilot which you get, or you can even use Claude Cowork or a Claude Desktop. These tools can definitely help you in this. So I might not go into detail like how to use Claude Code, Claude Desktop, and Copilot. These are fairly openly available resources, and there is nothing special which I can tell you more than what's available on other sources. So I'll not go into that, like how can I generate a documentation, how can I make sure some templates or documents related to these activities are generated. So then post this, what I want to do is I would like to spend a bit more information on how and what AI tools you can use for these. Now, when I'm talking about AI tools, let me first get a quick answers from you. What do you think ChatGPT is? Is it a tool? So when you say you want to use AI tools or AI system, look, everything is driven by systems like large language model and their inferences. And the services like ChatGPT, what they give you is they just streamline this large language models, you inferring large language models from that. So fundamentally, when you say that, okay, you want something to be done for your course, you want something to be done for your assessment, evaluation, documentation, these are nothing but you again rely on this language models and ChatGPT agents or a Cloud Core desktop agents. Fundamentally, I think, let me say how and what you can do is you can only use agents for this if you want to streamline. Now, I think I'm feeling a need to explain Sorry. Looks like it's so. So I'm starting to feel the need to explain like what are agents and okay. So let us understand this concept one. So when I say use of AI, most of us feel like, okay, it is the use of ChatGPT, right? Some of us going to ChatGPT, we putting some prompts and we are getting the responses. Now, when I say, is ChatGPT enough for this kind of activities or whatever time which you want to do? In most cases, it is sufficient enough. But if you want to completely automate these steps, for example, let's say you want to generate a documentation, you want to completely automate that, you need agents. So when I say agents, there is a most of technical definitions, but I would not like to go into technical definitions as of now. So if I want to keep the definition of agents a bit more simple for the broad audience right now we have, agents are nothing but it's a set of, think of agents as a set of multiple ChatGPT sessions. Each ChatGPT user session will give some additional input to another ChatGPT session, and that another ChatGPT session might now talk to the session earlier for more information. Think of this as multiple ChatGPT session, one dependent on other, and together all these sessions trying to solve one common problem. For example, let's say I want to include all these into one go, right? Preparation for a course, assessment, evaluation, mentoring of the students, question papers, and assessment. Now, if I consider this as one single activity, there are multiple ways for you. The first way is, okay, directly go to ChatGPT and put a prompt on this saying that I want a course plan, I want an assessment plan, I want evaluation, I also want a template for me to document students mentoring, and also some few question paper sets, and also generate assignments with marking height. Technically speaking, you can hit this in a one go to ChatGPT, so it will generate everything, and then further you interact with, maybe you want to modify in that based on context window, you will get it one. Think of an activity where you have a preparation of a course, you want evaluation plan to keep on dynamically changing whenever user or whenever students are giving active feedback. Think of this as a scenario wherein you want a dynamic evaluation strategy where, based on students' feedback during this regular implementation of a teaching plan, okay, you gave an assessment, and when you are mentoring students weekly, students started giving you input that this is topic we feel difficult to understand. This is what we need more assignments on this. These assignments are more difficult or easier to solve. These are something we are unable to solve. Or you say that on a special topic, students are not much interactive, and you want to steer your evaluation plan based on as and when students are giving you more and more input. And when the students give you more and more input, maybe across a mid-semester, now you want to give an assignments which will capture your process, which will capture how effective your process of evaluation and mentoring has been. You want your assignments to also dynamically change, or you want to add a new extra assignment at the end of semester because you have added some extra activities during the semester. When you want to go with this kind of dynamic flow, what can help is agents. Only agents can help you. So when you talk about agents, this is where now you want interaction. So it's not one single prompt, but it's a set of prompts, each having their own life cycle. So you will now have a specialized agent with a specific prompts related to evaluation. You have another agent with a specific prompts related to mentoring of the students. And you have a specialized agent which keeps on generating documentation around these activities as and when these activities proceed. Now you want interaction between three agents, one talking to other as and when there's a new input to this mentoring session. You want to see if your evaluation plan fits the student needs. If it doesn't, you want to add it. Once you change your evaluation strategy, now you want to document like what has changed since last week and how effectively your new evaluation strategy adhered to students' mentoring feedback. You want documentation to incrementally change. So this set of sub pieces of a larger prompt-based activities, you want to plug them into some workflow kind of activities. Now, this is where agentic systems come into picture. What is an advantage of using agentic based systems? The advantage of using agentic system is you are keeping a history, a chain of history, a chain of interaction with your agents. And here, things are far more automated, far more under control, far more reliable and consistent, and less suffering from hallucination of AI models. Now, when I ask you to, okay, go ahead and build your agents, the first question you all will have in your mind is, how do I build agent? Now, here is where I would say that there is a barrier. Now, what is the barrier and what exactly it is? So the barrier here, I always say the barrier I'm talking about is access to tools that allow you to build agents. And the second is pricing. So increasingly, most of well-built agentic frameworks, which would help you steer your AI workflows, where you can put your prompts and everything runs automatic. Pricing is a big deal. Now, whether institute funds or whether you fund, it's a different question, but pricing is a barrier. I say it's a big barrier. First is access to this, and second is the pricing. And third is, I would say, I'm not sure how critical this is, but data activity is a big question. Now, some of our student interaction might be a bit personal interaction. You don't want the whatever the platform you're using to use the training, but I'm not sure how much important right now we feel it, but especially in a non-Indian context, this is a very key one. And the third one is the last barrier is ease of use of these tools. So before we discuss some of the barriers and some of the frameworks available, hosting and all that, I would like to quickly take a pause and see like what you think about what we are discussing. So till now, what is your uses of ChatGPT, and to what extent these activities you have automated using ChatGPT? And if you had any exposure in writing agents or using agents directly. So if I want to give you some example of good agentic frameworks, something which I personally have access to and I've been using is Copilot Studio, the Microsoft Copilot Studio. You have this Claude Cowork, which you can also get it done through Claude Desktop. And you have this OpenAI agents. Have you used this, or are you using something different from this? Are you using any of these tools as of now? Or like, are you, I think, what is your current AI usage? Like, okay, are you heavily reliant on ChatGPT, or you also use other tools like Copilot Studio or any of this? And also, if you're more, if you are able to code, one of the best tool is GHCP, GitHub Copilot. Yes, and I think I also Notebook LM, yes, it does a pretty much very good job, Notebook LM, but I doubt if it can be used as an agent, but it is a good one. Like mostly, I would say that this aids you in one of the activities. Maybe you prepare a course plan or a notes for the students. Okay, any experience using these tools, or like, okay, these are something which you yet to explore? I think Notebook LM, yes, it is easily accessible. I think it has a free plan, and then most of us, we do use Notebook LM. Gemini AI, yes. Gemini AI is somewhat similar to what we do in ChatGPT, yes. Okay, but I think the way I look at it is, I think maybe very few of us might be building agents. Most of us, I think, we rely much on using the way the ChatGPT or Gemini AI, like, okay, you put a prompt and you take it. Like, we are the agent itself. Like, I am doing most of the heavy lifting of agent. I'm just talking to ChatGPT to get a quick answers from this tool, and then we are doing the task of orchestration and consolidating the response from language models. Okay. So coming back to the original question, as I said that, like, okay, if you want to completely automate all this with all dynamic inputs, self-evolving, minimal involvement of you, and still all these activities ongoing, you need to build an agent for that. And to build an agent for that, we have several tools available. Most of them are not free. They come with cost. So I'm assuming if someone is ready to pay those costs, you can always go with that. Now, let's say if I want to go with a very cost-effective, and I feel like not all of us will have a seamless access to these tools, and we can't completely depend on these tools. So we want something which we can reliably depend on this. I mean, we can reliably depend on availability of that tool. Look, we would never want to use AI wherein your course generation is AI and evaluation is manual. I am not a great fan of mixed mode of AI uses. So when I say mixed mode of, like, let's say
ట్రెండ్స్ తెలుసుగా నీకు ఇప్పుడు ట్రెండ్స్ ప్లేస్ లో పెట్టారంట ఈ మంత్ ఎండ్ మరి ఏ డేట్ గుర్తులేదు అయిపోయింది ఈ వీకేగా
I think someone is trying to speak, not sure. Okay, so I think I was talking about the mixed mode AI uses, wherein just think of a scenario where you are using AI to generate a course plan or a course notes and everything, but for evaluation you're trying to do manually. I don't think that will work, because the intention, see, all these activities are closely linked. If you say that, okay, you did evaluation and you're asking AI to do the question paper assessment, this is, I would say, a temporary workaround. We use it to quickly save time, but in a long term, it will not help. I think one of the major issue, I think I'll tell you what's the problem with using AI in this kind of activities. The main issue is, I think as a teacher, we use AI to generate content, or let's say maybe for generate content, let's say I'm asking it to say question paper. So do you think that children are so naive, students are so naive that they don't understand that we have used AI to generate question paper? And now in this today's modern world system, especially some of the schools, some of the colleges might have an open book assessments. During this open book assessment, students obviously use AI to generate answers. And what we do is teacher again uses AI to assess. So if you look at this, who is the winner? Who is winning? Teacher or student? Who is winning in this world? Like, okay, as a teacher, you're using AI, student is using AI, and as a teacher, you're using AI to assess it. So I think when I want to come back to this point, like use of AI in teaching learning, as a teacher, you have used AI with an assumption that student will not use AI or student will use AI. So let us quickly fix this issue. So as a teacher, when you are expecting that you will use AI to increase productivity or whatever time frame you do, what is your perception? Student will use AI or student should use, or what? So student should use or not use, or use it under supervision. So I also want to listen, because there is no point in it we deciding how a teacher, how an academician should use AI and just keeping the student block aside. Teaching learning means you both need to be on the same track. I would always say it is like a railway track. Teacher and student has to go in parallel. You cannot expect teacher to use AI to become super productive. At the same time, you cannot expect student to not to use. So I also want to, before I get more into details like what tool and what everything others, I would like to understand your perspective. As a teachers, where do we stand today? Do we stand that students should use, they should not use, or use it under supervision? Let me see some responses. Okay, so I think we say the student should not use AI. Okay. Now, okay, for a time sake, let us say that if we expect student to not use AI, then why should teacher use AI? So it's a valid question from let's say, just putting myself in these student shoes, and if I'm asking this question, okay. And as I think, if I go back to the first question, that how should I handle Gen Z, I think Gen Z is more famous for asking questions. So going on that line, how would you convince a student who comes to you and say that, okay, I have gone through the assignment, you as a teacher has displayed a notice board. It is AI generated. And if student asks, why should I not use AI? Because ultimately you are using AI, student produces answers. You need to figure out how does your use of AI plug in with the input student gives you back. The origin of content as a teacher is not you, but an AI. Then as a teacher, how do you plan to process the content students going to feed back into your system? So any perspective on this, like, or any lessons or anything, like, why do you feel a student should or should not use? So, yeah, I think so. If we think a bit more rationally and if we become more pragmatic, okay, what's happening around the world today, can we afford to produce a student who is not skillful enough to take advantage of AI tools? Can we take that risk? I think we all have a pressure to make student employable, or I would say it, as a teacher, it's our obligation to make student employable. If you look at the way the industry and overall IT and IT enabled service sectors are evolving, more often you will be forced to use AI tools. So, to what extent students' ability to use AI tools should be part of teachers' responsibility? To what extent you agree? Like, okay, so I think we are digging deep into this. If I put a question, as a teacher, to what extent you agree or disagree that teachers should impart skills? Okay, to what extent do you agree? Do you think the teacher's responsibility is to also teach student how to use AI tools? Maybe I would say add this word responsibly. We have something called responsible AI, and so I want to also understand, like, as a teacher, to what extent you agree or disagree that teachers should impart AI tool uses into students? Okay, so I think there are pretty much very interesting questions here in the chat. They're very interesting and very valid, so I just want to include it here in this. So I just took this someone. So yeah, AI generated material can be referred, but concepts and fundamentals need to be cleared first. Perfect. We align on that one. Use AI. Okay. Use it as a worker assisting a master to do much more productive. And I think the more discussion point is they are not thinking at their own. So, okay, pretty interesting points. Now, coming back to the question, with let me see if there are more responses here. No. Okay. So, as a teacher, we say that okay, students should be able to think on their own, and I can see like okay, what the answers are indicating and why you are probably saying that students should not use it because you feel that student using AI might be more counterproductive to him rather than helping him develop any skills or anything. But let us put it in some different perspective. Without AI, okay, so you are saying students should not use. I'm just thinking of words like how to better put this. What's going in my mind is how do I put this? Okay, so let me put it by in a example. As a teacher, you have generated an assignment. Fine. You have asked students to solve that assignment. What means you have today to restrict students from using it? And can we practically think of a means for students in using restriction of this? See, in the current world of AI usage, in the way the current modern teaching learning practices go, and most of us, we use online tools, and for a teacher, with the kind of student count we have, I think I can recall like some situation like, okay, as a teacher, you are handling 100 or a 200 plus class. Do you think it is humanly possible for a teacher to make sure that every student is not using AI? I don't think in this current world you can enforce students from not using AI. If your if your end goal is to make student put their brains to work, think and develop problem solving skills, I feel like why not go with use under supervision? Why not go with to this route? Use it under supervision. I mean, as a teacher, you will become a facilitator. So you will be actively supervising the students' AI usage. And you will make sure student will use AI for what the AI has to be used. So generally speaking, usually what I do is, I think I do recall a recent interview at my company where we were evaluating students for interns. Okay, I do recall that when I was interviewing a couple of interns for interview, I asked them a question and I asked them to use any tool available outside. Like, okay, they had an access to internet. Rather than asking them to take a pen, paper and write everything, I asked them to use ChatGPT and find an answer. And once he found the answer, I asked him to explain the answer to me. And during the process, the student was explaining the answer to me. I was questioning the student, like why it is. So I was saying like how well he understood that critical thinking aspect of that question. So this is where I felt like AI helped me as an interviewer. AI helped that student as an interviewee to better improve the process and understand the students' capabilities, and me also save my time in in this interview process. So, what do you think of such kind of uses by AI? As a teacher, are you open, or like, do you think our current teaching learning processes and guardrails around teaching learning process allow for such kind of AI uses by students? If it is so, then I really feel that as a teacher, you using AI will be a lot more productive. And in the long run, as I said that, okay, if teacher is using this, he is using, so who is winning? We want teacher and students both to win. Just teacher winning and student neglecting, I don't think that AI will be a long run of AI users. So using under supervision is something I feel. And to make sure students' AI users fits under these guardrails of supervision, your AI users has to enforce that. So as a teacher, when you are using AI in a teaching learning, especially in this teaching learning related associated process, make sure when these content gets passed through to the student, they will be at least motivated, forced in the sense, I would say positively forced, positively compelled to do a critical thinking aspects when they start solving those assignments. And one of the other ways is is to make sure students. So I feel like in this process, student also learns how to effectively and responsibly use AI. At the same time, he feels that he has the tools for his side to use. He doesn't feel like deprived or restricted in using AI tools. And I usually feel that both teacher and students should use AI, and that's the way to go ahead. Because I don't think how hard it would be for a student to work in a fast AI driven environment currently, which we have in industries. Like lot of code now goes through Copilot. So if a student doesn't know how to use a GitHub Copilot, he would struggle to uh, keep the pace of at which the development is going on in the companies. Yeah. So now coming back to some of the valid points, and I think, okay, so if you say student is copy pasting, yes, I want to just address that elephant in the room. When we come back to this point of allowing students to use AI, how can we enforce? Now I'm using the word enforce. How can we enforce that student responsibly uses AI? I think how can we make sure that student just copy paste and just puts it his their own answers? Now this is where I feel like the role of teacher as a human vividly comes out of this entire picture one. Okay. To be very frank, if you think of all that, I think we all have been using AI in some or other way, or some of our friends, or some of our colleagues, or some of our relatives. Every day we see one of other highlighting example of AI. To be very frank, if you think whatever the conventional teaching, what we do, the conventional teaching learning process, today it can be almost replaced by AI. If someone just throws a big bunch of money to this AI tools, and if we use this Claude desktop or a Claude super powerful models which come from this big giants like Anthropic or OpenAI, this entire landscape can be quickly replaced. So as a human, your role more as a facilitator is more and more important. And your role as a facilitator, I feel like it might be pretty much difficult to replace through AI. And as long as we keep our role as a facilitators, a human facilitators, that's where I feel like we are more able to do justice to this teaching, learning, and AI in overall. Now, coming back to how can I enforce student to use AI responsibly? One argument here was like, okay, most of students do a copy paste. This has been going on like since my days. I do recall like how many of us have written assignments on our own, or how many of we used to write. The hand was mine, the pen was mine, but I was just looking into the answers of someone else's journal and I was copy pasting. Just it is a physical one. Now it has become digital. So how do we make sure copy pasting can be done? I feel like we using better. Here is where I would like to stress more on using, like, okay, preventing, I would say, malpractices, or I would say responsible. I think I'll use this word academic integrity. So if I go with this use under supervision, if my answer is yes, then how do I prevent malpractices, or like how do I make sure the AI user is responsible, or we stick to academic integrity? In the academic integrity, that's what, like, I don't want to copy paste. I don't want to claim someone's work as a mine, or like I don't want to just uh, I mean, like, masquerade as if I have done this assignment using someone's project as mine and showing that. Now here is what we can further go with AI. And I feel like AI definitely helps. So my question is, why don't we as a teachers for solving these issues? We cannot stop them from using AI, but why don't we use AI for solving these issues? So any suggestions, I think, before I jump into, I have some thought like how can I make sure AI can be responsibly used by student, and as a teacher, what are those guardrail frameworks I can share back to students, and the best way I can make sure most students, majority of the students will preserve the academic integrity. But before that, I would like to listen few points from you, like any thoughts on how to use AI for preventing these issues. Any thoughts on this one? Or any attempt which you made in your AI usage where you felt like, okay, this works. May not be 100%, but this works. This helps student use their brains and not copy paste. Okay. Okay. So I think with AI, ethics is worth. Okay. So we definitely have some AI generated questions. You can what I feel is this activity may be more use of human intellect. Now, I think I would like to do a one thing. Okay, so I have this. So if I say, let's say if I just go with, if I want to show you some sample, mm, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to demonstrate the use of AI where it might be very difficult for a student to engage in a copy paste activity, or it compels them to use their brain. I mean, like it compels them to think and come back to the answers. So, and I feel like more the human you spend a time for a human, it might be much more time taking. And I definitely felt that AI systems can help you more readily to draft such one. And I feel like such kind of activities are more related to assignments, evaluation. So for a task of evaluation and assignments, I think I am particularly about data structures and algorithms. So what I'll do is, okay, so if I ask an AI, so let me just put a question, like we will just try to see like how I can force AI to generate a question and how well those questions can be drafted so that student is compelled to think, and we want to avoid or preserve that academic integrity. So what I'm asking ChatGPT is to produce 3 questions on subject of data structures and algorithms. And let's say, so I have asked this AI to produce 3 questions on subject of data structures and algorithm. This is fairly a simple. Okay, I hope you see this on one. Okay. So what it has given you is 3 questions based on remember, understand, and apply. Now let's say you share these questions to a student. Student obviously knows that these are AI generated, and more it's very difficult to even find a distinction between human generated and AI generated, because more the systems learn, they almost mimic the human capability. So it has 3 questions here. Define the following terms: web browser maintains history and justify your choice. Consider following sequence of operation initially, stack empty, and this one. Okay. Now, obviously, there is a much more scope when a student submits an answer to this. He can ask ChatGPT to once again get the answers back, and he can just plug it in one. How can you make them? Okay, so I think just hypothetically, let us ask GPT itself to modify the questions. Okay, so what I asked, modify the questions so the students are forced to think before deducing the answers. Okay. So when we ask this prompt to a GPT, what it is asking you is the questions remain same. And if you see that the level remains same, questions remain same, but now the nature of question has changed, right? So, for example, if you look at the first one, you had to basically provide example of array, linked list, stack, and associated data structure. Now, that same is framed in a such a way that student has to think here. It's not just like you ask and you get an answer. So software company developing 4 models, the answer to this is lies here. Now, if I want to make further more like, okay, do you think this is there a still scope of copy paste? There is still a scope of copy paste because we didn't use we didn't bring in personalization aspect related to students one. So we are considered students as a broad generic entity, but if I want to make sure answer of one student will differentiate from student of others, we need to bring in personalization aspect in this one. And to bring in personalization aspect for each and every student, here is where AI does a more helping job. See, when we look for this such kind of assignments as a teacher, we are more aware of each student's learning profile. always the teacher has a mental model of every student's capability. We have that mental model capability of every student. When a student comes to us, interacts us, we keep on developing this inherent mental model of each student in our mind. So at some point of time, by looking at student's answer, you are fairly in a good position to tell if the student wrote the answer himself or like he just copy pasted from the internet or something else. We would like to develop such system in AI, wherein whenever students start submitting answers, and as and when student progresses from assignment 1 to end of that semester across the course, we would like to keep, yeah, sorry. So when student submits us the history of questions and that, we would like to keep a database of that student responses and start building the profile of each student. We call this a student portfolios. And today, several of AI portfolios like Moodle student portfolio, and we have a lot other student portfolio like systems. And I think this is where I wanted to bring a system like, so we have this workspace, student portfolio systems. So this e-portfolio systems, what they do is they keep on developing the student attributes, like, okay, this student is good in this student is so and so bad in this is how he is developing, and all this. Systems like this help you keep capture the student's capability. What you have to do is you have to plug your AI systems to be able to use each student personalized profile, and then you can make sure that students submitted answers match to that profile. Remember, a slow learner can drastically not become a super sharp learner in just one assignment. The progression from slow learner to expert learner is a gradual, it takes months and years. So as long as you build a specialized student profile, personalization aspects, and AI can always read from this personalization aspect, you can always keep on customizing the questions so that the answers are driven by student's profile. So assuming that, okay, so let's say to show the demonstration of how that works, I'm just saying, I would force AI to make sure it can take care of that part. So I said that, okay, the answers should be not straightforward. It should force student to go through it. So what I am saying is, develop rubrics. Okay. So now what I've asked is develop a rubrics for evaluating each question. So if you see here, earlier they have been used for 10, 10, and 10, and then I just made that answer a bit more in a format where student has to think. Now I'm still searching for how can I make it a bit more robust so the student will not directly copy paste. Even if they copy paste, a AI enabled system would be able to catch it. Now, when I say AI enabled system to catch student has copy pasted, I don't want them to be called and caught as a plagiarized student. Okay, you copied, penalized, punished. I don't think that system works. You need to act as a supporting system and a facilitator. And to do it, it's a humane effort. It takes a lot of time. What we are trying to do in this activity here is, how can AI help me do it far more smoother and reduce my time or my mental time, which I spend on giving a one-on-one attention to each and every student. So we asked answer to be not straightforward. Yes, it modified these questions. And then now I am asking it to generate a rubrics for evaluating each question. So if you see this, Okay, what it says, identification of a for question 1, it gave question 2 detailed understanding. Now it is giving question 3 a detailed understanding of what should be an excellent and what should be this one, right? It gave the rubrics. Now, based on these rubrics, we can definitely say that as of now, I can pretty much feel that they are pretty well neatly drafted. Now, imagine as a teacher if you had to do it without AI. 3 questions, making sure you have done all these things, making sure you have a rubrics, right? And then you further whatever. Imagine how countless amount of time I save just in doing that. And whatever time I am saving, this time is better spent in one-on-one face-to-face interaction with student. That is what I feel more valuable in long run. So now when I ask the students to GPT system to produce rubrics for evaluation, my next thing is I want to bring in the personalization aspect. Okay, I'll just say that I'll put the students. So what I'm saying is students are of varying. Okay, so what I'm saying is students are of varying levels of ability to correctly answer the questions. Suggest a mechanism for me as a teacher based on rubrics identify if I would say, let's say I want to identify if a student is directly copying answer from his yeah. So I have added an additional line here saying that my students are of varying levels of ability. So it's the mechanism for me as a teacher based on rubric study. If student is directly copy pasting answer from his or peer. Also consider that as a teacher, students' learning progression is captured in e-portfolio system indicating students' intellect and abilities. So if you see that, as I've tried to show you earlier, that when you go to subscriptions, I think student e-portfolio systems, they have a competency frameworks, they have a rubrics to keep on identifying student like where, what, how the learning assessment, their ability to, especially this is what I was talking about, competencies. These are pretty well calculated in these systems. But this is one system, and Moodle 2 also has a such a built-in system. It called as competency framework inside Moodle. It can even be integrated. There are a lot of other open source solutions people have built for Moodle as well, which integrates with competency framework, which does exactly what we are trying to do here. So
Dear participants, there is some network issue from the resource person side, so he will be joining within 1 or 2 minutes again.
I think I had a small network drop. So let me just quickly share back what I was showing. Yeah. So we were discussing how we can make the questions in a such a way that I can always use AI-based systems to develop an evaluation and assessment strategy, and at the same time make sure that students' answers vary from student to student. So if you see this, like when I ask the prompt, like, okay, personalize this. How do I make an assessment? So then it says that, okay, whenever you have, make sure now you put a cross questioning system. Whenever you have students' answer submitted, and if it doesn't align with the student's progression map, the AI system will automatically ask students for a more explanation. So when it goes for a more an explanation, and when it actually AI system actually goes based on what students' progression map and its weight matrix indicate, this effectively removes or it effectively engages student to start personalizing and generating his own answer. So what is important is thinking ability. We don't want students to keep everything in their mind, keep everything memorized and not. Even till date, I think I always keep on saying that there was a time when we were asked not to use Google search for programming and then always go to book back and then. Imagine if we never did that, we can't program in modern world. Just as that, they currently, even today, rarely developers write a code completely on their own. Most of companies are enforcing people to use AI generated planning, requirement, code generations, and several of AI based activities. So at the same time, understanding and developing a critical thinking, problem solving in context of AI as a source of information, AI as a source of information mining, AI as a source of information extraction tool is what is the ultimate skill when someone says that your student needs to be AI enabled. So what do we mean? When I say student is to be AI enabled, can student use ChatGPT? That doesn't mean student is AI enabled, right? As a teacher, when you want to go ahead and when you want student to be employable in terms of AI aspect, you need to make sure how well student can use AI. I mean, like AI services, tools, frameworks, whatever we call it as, how well he can source information, how well he can process that information, how well he can attest that information, attest in the sense of how correct that information is. That's what is human AI skills are. So the moment when I ask the system to uh, personalize it, like I have students of varying level, and how can I make sure that as a teacher I restrict him from copying answers from it, and how can I evaluate it? It now expects it to be taking the attributes, map the student learning journey, and it now uh, shows that how and where it detects. Now, let me go keep guys. So reasoning evidence marks. If you see, Q is an appropriate because, okay, describe two possible consequences of this one. If I think we should, sometimes it's surprising that the job AI has realized in saying that where students could copy paste, you can see how modern and how capable AI models are. We should use this for the benefit of engaging or inculcating critical thinking. So if you see that the AI system does realize that when a student copy, often the copied examples use identical examples, identical sentence structure, identical mistakes, and identical order of explanation. These are the things which we as the teachers, we are doing that. But now, if you engage use of AI more as a teacher in making sure these things are automated, then see, you should be a more facilitator. We are not like a corporals or a drill sergeant where we our own role is to act as a police and investigators. No, teachers should not be like that. Teachers are facilitators. So this is where I say that AI should be used, and this is how students should be used. And now, if student asks, as a teacher, you are using AI, I as a student, why should I not use AI? So my answer to that question, okay, you are free to use AI. What, as a teacher, I'm expecting from you as a student is I want to understand your thinking process. I am evaluating your reasoning path. I am evaluating your thinking process. I am evaluating your learning ability. You using AI or you not using AI will not affect your learning process. Do you have that learning process skills? No matter how you source information from AI, Google search, or your friend or anything, as a human, you have to process that information. I'm going to assess your ability to process that information quickly. Student to student, this ability changes. One student might process information far quickly. One student's memory capability might be far more high. Like, okay, some people can have a much more larger working memory. Some students don't. So we don't want to say that one who has a lesser working memory is a low student, one who has a higher it's not that. But all need to develop this inherent process of learnability and critical thinking. That's where we want to use AI. So, any quick questions or suggestions on this? Like, what do you think? Like, do you agree on this plan, or you still feel no, this is not what we want to use AI, and we probably there's a far more better way to use AI, and we should still restrict students from using AI? I think you can put your responses in chat. Looks like chat is turned off. Yeah. So now I think, we have this. Okay. So you might, okay, let us come back and let's see what it takes. Okay. Now, as a teacher, is this approach scalable? Can I do this system for every student? I might be, as a teacher, I might be in multiple subjects. I might be at a time dealing with 100 or 200 or even 400 students. How do I make these systems more automatable? This is where the tools like this. So when I say tools for AI and accommodation, what I would say is that as a teacher or as a student, you use this tool profile which is personalized to you. But if as an academic institutes, if you want to invest into AI, these are the tools where you want to invest in the AI-enabled e-portfolio system. Now, when you have the Chat GPT, you have AI e-portfolio systems, you have learning management systems like Moodle or other ones. This is where integration between these tree and tools is important. More they are integrated, more they are automated for this, more we have student support systems. This is where the AI tool should go. If you use ChatGPT as just a system, the the issue with this is I think you still need to, okay, now I have all this one. How do I make a assignment out of this? You copy paste, you're putting it to Drive, but still I feel like the systems like Google Docs and Gemini, they do a lot more better. You can see if you can build such systems into Google-based systems. This is also a good solution. So as long as you integrate your Google Workspace ones, this does. So, sorry. Okay. So you can always even go with Gemini integration if you mostly have Workspace. I think Google Workspace allows you to integrate with your organizational account well. You can even do this system. This is where I feel like tools should be used, much more tools and scalable systems and long-term systems has to be used. I think if you say AI tools for teacher, I think even if I just do a quick Google AI tools for you, there's a bunch of tools. You cannot go through every tool, so you cannot use every tool. There are several of this. How many such tools? Now I think I want to be a bit more frank. Like if you're working for tools, there are thousands of AI tools. How long you will go with, what all you will. So what I'm saying is consistency is more important. I think you should more prefer to use something which helps you build an integrated system, which caters to the ecosystem which you have in your institutes, rather than investing on individual tools. As far as it comes to individual tools, I feel like ChatGPT, Notebook LM is far more than enough we have. So your approach varies course to course. It varies from tool to tool. Yes, it does varies. But as I said, that the unfortunately issue with tool-based ecosystem is there are several of tools, and not you need to streamline on that. Like I don't feel like as a teacher you went with one tool, it's trial one, it worked for you for a couple of weeks, and that if you think it's productivity for you, in the long run you're wasting your time, but it's not leading anywhere. To be very frank and to be blunt, just experimenting with hundreds of tools out there just for the sake of AI user, you're using it. No, I feel like, okay, whatever tools you use, whatever research you want to do it with an end goal up. to what extent your activities and your tool usage is benefiting the end student. That's what personally is my opinion as a teacher. Otherwise, I feel like everything after a hype, you will realize that you just ended up wasting time. Yeah. I think I am almost good with whatever I wanted to discuss. I just wanted to keep it session more interactive. I'm not sure how well it was, how you liked, not liked. I'm not sure, but whatever it is, you can share the feedback. And if you have more questions, you can share. If I get those questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Hope this was something which I was able to provoke some thoughts for a better AI users in education. Yeah, that is it from my side. Any questions from your side? I think there's a question saying, can industry AI be valuable tool for academic research in a wide range of discipline? Okay, so when you, okay, can industry AI be a valuable tool for academic research? For research, yes, there are several of tools. There's several of new ideas and possible scope for new products as well. Yes, it is possible. But okay, now there's a distinction when we say AI. Unfortunately, most of industries which we have in our close vicinity, maybe in our town or some of this Indian IT companies, we are more towards applied AI. We are applying the AI. We are not inventing new AI. By research, if you're talking something new in AI, that's a totally different domain. It's a totally different ones and that. I can talk about it some other day. Actually, my expertise is from the AI research, inventing new in AI research. That's what I'm doing at my company. But I somehow, I don't want to talk about this in this session. Here we are talking more about applying AI. There are some AI methods, tools, techniques, frameworks. We are applying it for the new problems. So it's up to you. There are a lot of scope of research opportunities for AI in industry as well as in education. Now, I think there is a question like some AI free tools. See, as I said, there are thousands of tools. Just because an AI tool worked for me, not necessarily it will work for every one of you. It is up to your need. Okay, I might say that, okay, go with some mid-journey based image generation tool. You want to do a CAD 3D modeling, go with mid-journey based local Olama based model generation or something. It works for me in my use case and my student program. It might not work for you. As a teacher, I feel like we should do our own research, find out what fits the most for your needs, go with that. Don't wait for someone's validations or someone's right, wrong with. You feel it is right. As a teacher, you are the best person to go ahead and choose that tool. Go ahead and use that tool. And for a larger ecosystem, what we looked at, like, okay, integrated with LMS, integrated with other, your documentation, everything, you need a better one. And I feel like for an organization, for Indian context, I always feel that Google Workspace thing does a far better thing. So when you integrate it with the Gemini internally, it does take care of a lot of several activities. You need to customize it, but you can, it checks a lot of boxes for most of institutes. Okay, so if you're asking for specific tools like assessments, Moodle has some pre-built assessment tools, but they are not ready-made. There are some paid plugins for it. I think if your institution uses Moodle, your assessments can be AI integrated. There are some open source plugin systems, but they are not that reliable. You need to go for custom integration, and they do not come free of cost. Either you need to develop, since it's an open source. If you understand Moodle's coding and plugin-based ecosystem, you can use it. I think whatever we have just looked at, let student upload a doc or a text file, and your system takes it and evaluates it AI through this. Its plugin ecosystem lets us do that, but it comes with some. We'll need to customize it. It's not a direct integration, and you want a complete, full-fledged AI systems. There are several, but mostly they are tailored more towards US-based education system. For Indian thing, I still bet on using what we have. Maybe if you're using Moodle or something that, I feel like you developing an ecosystem around that is far more better. I'm sure like upcoming sessions might definitely have some tools in for you. They might be having interesting tool offerings and that. So I would recommend that maybe the next set of speakers or will have a better hands-on or working on. I just wanted to keep it general, discuss it from student, teacher, like a past teacher experience point of view. I think I am okay if no more questions. Kondekar sir, I think if you can.
Yes, sir,
conclude.
yes.
Yeah.
What can be done is like we will be sharing the one form which will be feedback attendance, and their participants will share their experience and feedback, and maybe they will if they have some additional questions in their mind, so they will put it here in that particular form, and I will be sharing that to you also, so that later also we can have the interaction. And